And now everybody knows I have this kind of this interesting relationship, I think, with Arnold, where I really criticize them in Bigger, Stronger, Faster, but I've always really loved him. If you want to be somebody, go be somebody. And that's what Arnold did. This is where he's smart. This is where most people fail. He cared about everything, man. Pumping Iron is what made him a star. And these are two of the biggest alpha males on in the history of the planet. And they would always mess with each other. I really liked it. When I was watching it last night, I was kind of like in my negative, like, screw Arnold. Like I was in this negative mood. But Arnold himself pulled me right out of it. I continued to watch it, and it just got better and better. And what I thought was beautiful is, like, I know these guys watched Bigger, Stronger, Faster when they made this movie, because there are about 7 or 8 shots that are directly from Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and they actually play them at the same time. Like, where like Mary Lou Retton and the Hulk and all that, they put all these clips in. Like, I think they just I want to go back and look at it, but I think they might have cut it from our movie. I mean, look, making a second Bigger, Stronger, Faster, to be honest, I can only lose. Pretty much I can only lose. Like, it's, it would be rare for you to completely win that,
Flying out of Sacramento, California!
Woo! What you gonna do?
Better. Stronger.
Son of a bitch.
Faster.
Oh, yeah!
Did you get to see the 3-part documentary on Arnold?
I'm about 30 minutes from the final. I'm 30 minutes from the very end of it. I've made it through almost the entirety of it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And now everybody knows I have this kind of this interesting relationship, I think, with Arnold, where I really criticize them in Bigger, Stronger, Faster, but I've always really loved him. I've always really held him in a high esteem. One thing I always think is people think I'm mad at Arnold, but to be honest, the producers of Bigger, Stronger, Faster is like, hey man, we need a bad guy. I'm like, how about Arnold? Because it's going to go against what what people I'm going to think is the bad guy. I'm going to think the bad guy's a skinny little wimp, but maybe the bad guy's my hero, because he's not telling me the full truth, right? Like, that was the mindset behind it. And when I brought that up to my producers, like, oh my God, that's brilliant. We have to go attack Arnold. And the whole time I always felt nervous about it. Like, I don't want to say anything bad about Arnold. He's amazing.
I mean, you're the highest fan of this man. Like, you're a
genuine I just want people to understand that. Like, the same thing with Hulk Hogan. And these people also, like, wear out their welcome, and they change. And I think we need to be ready for that. Like, if you look at the only one that hasn't jumped the shark yet is Stallone. Like, he hasn't done anything, completely ridiculous yet. But, the Hulkster and Arnold, they've seen a lot better days. Now, like, it's not like Stallone is cranking out top-notch, awesome movies, but every once in a while, he'll squeak one out. Even like Rambo 4 was crazy or whatever. Rambo, like the latest Rambo, it's like if you actually sit and watch it, it's pretty crazy. And it's pretty entertaining.
I know.
But there's a lot of interesting things in this Arnold documentary that I wanted to discuss. Like, it's a really well done documentary by Netflix. It's really well made. It's really well shot. I mean, they shot these beautiful interviews with Arnold, like sitting next to his fireplace, and the whole room is dark, and there's just a fireplace in the background. He's almost lit by candlelight, and it looks amazing. It's really cool. One of the criticism I would make of it is, and it's probably not that big of a deal for most people, but for me, is pacing's an important part of a movie. And it does seem to be a little bit slow because Arnold is, he's in his 70s, and he just talks slower. And so I don't want them to speed him up or anything like that. But it just is wasn't as, like, I guess, packed with information. The other thing that was surprising to me is Arnold has, like, no friends and family in the movie. It's like, it's just Arnold. They interview a couple other people, but it's rare that they cut to anybody but Arnold. He's telling you the story, which I think is a cool device. They have a movie like that with Mike Tyson called Tyson. That was really well done. And I definitely think this is worth watching. There's so much fun stuff that I don't want to ruin in there, like casting choices. Just remember this when you watch it. They talk about a specific casting choice for the movie The Terminator, which is amazing.
Fantastic, which I never saw coming, by the way.
Yeah. But nobody could picture the guy as a murderer, so they didn't use him. which is amazing, right? So anyway, there's some really cool stuff in this Arnold movie. There's really cool stuff about him bodybuilding, right? And what I want to Mark and I say this to everybody: if you want to be somebody, go be somebody. And that's what Arnold did. Like Arnold got himself popular in bodybuilding, and then said, "Cool, now I want to be an actor." And I think a lot of people just like go into things and they don't have anything they just want to be famous. You know, like that's the thing nowadays. It's like kids just want to be famous. It's like, well, pick a thing, pick a sport, you know, pick an art, pick something to go in and get really good at, and that way you're known as like this guy that does this. But then later on, people will forget they even did that. This is where he's smart. This is where most people fail. Arnold was brilliant in the fact that he started investing in real estate or like through his bodybuilding career, buying houses in Santa Monica that weren't that expensive now that I know because I've lived in Santa Monica. These little tiny shack houses that Arnold bought for $100,000 are worth $2 million now. So he did a bunch of that kind of stuff before he ever got really famous and popular. He also owns 4 high-rise buildings in downtown LA. And he owns his, in Venice, he owns his restaurant, Shotzi, which I don't think is open anymore, but he still owns that building and his offices are in that building. And it's like the prime real estate of the entire country is Santa Monica Main Street. And like Arnold owns the building, you know, and the reason why I think he was so successful in all of this is because he wasn't just a bodybuilder or an actor. He cared about everything, man. When you look at when he would get a script, he would read the script and he'd go, you know what? I don't want to do this B movie, The Terminator. It sounds like a B movie to me. But he's like, but then I read the script and the writing was really good. And it's like, how does Arnold even know that the writing is really good? It was something about it that caught his attention. We're like, hey, but this is cool. This could be a breakout hit, you know? And I think that that's interesting. You have to make these choices in life. And he had the wherewithal. Okay, so let's look at The Rock compared to Arnold. The Rock has how many movies? 20, 30?
A lot at this point, right? A lot.
And I would venture to say that The Rock maybe has 2 or 3 good movies, decent movies.
Decent by what standard, though? Box
Well,
office
I don't even know.
or
Like
critics?
people hate the movies I like from The Rock. The only movie I really like from The Rock is Pain and Gain that he's in. But
Fantastic.
that movie is way over the top, and I get why people don't get it or why people don't like it. Michael Bay made it. It was way over the top. I actually had that script in my hands for a long time, trying to get it made and direct it. And
Really?
yeah, and then like Michael Bay came along and like scooped it up.
Wow.
So that was kind of disappointing because I have a friend, his name's Jason Dudek, and he lives out in Florida, and he was around for that whole thing that went down, and he's the one that sent me the article. He obtained the rights to the article. However, Michael Bay obtained the rights to a different article from a different thing and wrote a script and got it made.
What an interesting workaround. So you lost the IP because of a second article. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because like they can just go to that author and say, hey, we really like this 20-page in-depth article you wrote about this crime in the New Times in Miami, and we want to make it into a movie. But like if you look at The Rock hasn't made those choices. John Cena hasn't made those choices. I've talked to John Cena's agent a bunch and like pitched him things that they don't like. You know, I was like back in the day, I was like, you got to put him up for He-Man. And his agent told me, like, he's like, no, we don't want to get him typecast. And like, who would be a better He-Man? They never made the movie, but there was rumors that they're going to make Master of the Universe 10 years ago. And when those rumors came about, that's when I was telling them, because I think that's like, who could be better?
Yeah, I think he would have crushed. He is, not to dovetail off of Arnold for too long, but man, what a legacy of action heroes. And John Cena is, I think, right at Peacemaker. I haven't been more entertained by a series than I was in Peacemaker in a really long time.
If John Cena keeps going the Peacemaker direction and works with James Gunn and does all these things, he's going to be bigger than The Rock. Mark and I have always said that we've known John since he was 22 years old. We helped him get into wrestling, and if he wants to, he'll be as big as Arnold. He's got to make better choices with the movies. Like the first movie, The Marine, that was trash, but at least it got him into making movies. Then the second movie he did was even more trash, called 12 Rounds. It was terrible. And it's hard when you have these movies that flop. Then you got to come through with something like Peacemaker that ignites the world, and I think he's on the right path now. And getting into the even though I don't really like the Fast and Furious movies, he got into those, and that's great. Now, given all these people are making tons of money, like tons of money, it's like ridiculous for me to even be sitting here criticizing it. However, I don't know, man. I couldn't do it. I got to do stuff I love. I got to do stuff I believe in. I got to be involved in stuff I believe in.
That Arnold, though, he did not come out of the gate like making amazing movies either, though, right?
No.
So a few of those first, it looked like there was 2 or 3 that they featured that were frankly
he did.
bad, right?
Well, yeah. That's where he learned his lessons, like early on in like these smaller movies. So he did Hercules Comes to New York, and they dubbed his voice in, and he was terrible. But actually, his second movie was called Stay Hungry, and that was with I think Beau Bridges and all these other,
Sally Fields,
something like that, yeah. And so that movie kind of got him on the map, and he was playing a bodybuilder in that movie, so it worked for him, and it got him like a little bit more popularity. But what really got him popular, and this is actually incredible, an incredible shout out to George Butler, who made Pumping Iron. Pumping Iron is what made him a star. And when you watch this movie back about Arnold, they put him in a group of like 10 people. He outperformed all of them, like not just on stage, but on camera.
Now, was that like a mockumentary?
It's a dramatized documentary.
But okay, not mock, but dramatized, right? Because it was pretending to follow him through an actual competition, but he wasn't, though. Is that correct?
I don't know if when they were filming it, if they filmed it like after. I don't know any of that.
That's what I got from the documentary we just watched. That was after.
You could easily do it because the amount that your body changes in the 8 weeks before a show back then in the 80s, 1977, it wasn't that different. You know what I mean? Like now, I don't think you'd get away with it because you'd be like, wait, the guy's way more ripped, and if they shot it later, he would look way different.
That part was vague. I couldn't tell. My understanding was that was like shot during his last major competition with Mr. Olympia. But
my understanding is that he can't. My understanding is that he shot that they shot that movie, but then they took some of the scenes and they made them fake. So like it's more that than it. Like I think it was a true. From what I know, it's a true documentary, but. The things like Lou Ferrigno's dad doesn't train him. They weren't close.
Really?
Yeah, like those kind of things.
Like that, yeah, that whole storyline.
So they made them really close, and they made his dad train him. But like literally, his dad trained him. Like somebody told me, I think maybe even Lou told me that his dad trained him like on the days that they shot, and that was it. His whole life.
That's wild. I mean, Hollywood's got to do what Hollywood does, right? They got to make an interesting story.
They needed to make his dad. Ferrigno's dad is amazing. You know the guy? Or you just know him from he's amazing. And I know Lou.
Yeah.
And Lou is great. Lou is always awesome. All Lou Ferrigno does all day is make fun of Mike O'Hearn. So you know what he does? He comes up to me, and he has the same joke every time because Lou Ferrigno is Incredible Hulk. He doesn't have many jokes. And he comes up to me, and he goes, Ksh. And you know what that means? He used to do it, and I was trying to like figure out what it means. And he's like, it's the spray paint. And I'm going, huh? And then I just start dying laughing. He's talking about the spray paint on late night TV where you fill your hair in.
Right, to hide the bald spot.
He would say, O'Hearn use that. And he would just come up to me and go, Ksh. And I don't know why he had a vendetta against Mike. I think it was like a little personal vendetta. There's a couple people in our gym that have had like fallings out with him, but they never last. Then I see them training together, 3 weeks later. So it's always like, I think some people just get,
It must, when you're used to being the best guy in any room you go into, and then you see another person on that level, it must be some sort of an ego shake.
And these are two of the biggest alpha males in the history of the planet. Lou Ferrigno and Mike O'Hearn. It's like they're only going to get along for 5 minutes before something. It's kind of like Arnold and Stallone. The Arnold and Stallone relationship is amazing. Where he said, Stallone's like, I want to throw him off a cliff. Like, how do you feel about Arnold? He's like, I want to throw him off a cliff. He hated him. And they would always mess with each other. And I remember Mike Ryan, my trainer friend, he's good friends with Arnold. And he would tell me these stories that Arnold would tell him. He said, we were supposed to go to a premiere for like one of my movies, like True Lies or something. And I told Stallone, hey, I'm wearing this bright blue suit so you should dress real colorful, maybe wear red or something. It's like Stallone shows up in this weird red suit, and Arnold's wearing tuxedo, normal tuxedo, like totally clowned. Like everybody's like, what is Stallone wearing?
Oh, and in the documentary, again, I guess, spoilers, where he told the guy, okay, hey, when he gave the guy the nod, like, okay, the pose off, he's like, all right, let's go. And the guy turns, I mean,
Well,
wow.
there's a lot of stuff like that. Like in Pumping Iron, there is a part where Arnold tells the guy, you just got to get up there and scream.
Yeah.
And the louder you scream and the more noise you make, the better you're going to be. And then they're like, what happened? The guy's like, he got disqualified.
Remember, high screams for upper body, low screams for lower body, or something like that, right?
The funniest scene in Pumping Iron that Mark and I, we always notice the little things. It's never like the big main parts of the movie. There's a scene in Pumping Iron where a guy reaches back, his hand's like in his butt for like a couple seconds, and then he like looks around and goes and sniffs his fingers. Are you aware of this?
No, I don't remember that scene.
It's amazing. It's like, why is that in there? And like, who?
How did the editor let that one slip through?
I think we think it's on purpose.
It is, yeah, for sure. It has to
Yeah,
be.
I mean that kind of has to be on purpose, right? But if you look at Arnold, where he got to have what I liked about this movie, I really liked it. I when I was watching it last night, I was kind of like in my negative, like, screw Arnold, like I was in this negative mood. But Arnold himself pulled me right out of it. You know, I continued to watch it, and it just got better and better. And the reason it got better is because there came some adversity. There was no adversity to a guy who is like, first of all, Arnold's like a good-looking dude. He looks cool. Like, he's a good-looking guy. He's jacked. I've never seen anybody built like that. He had all these tools, and so it was like, it wasn't super easy, but he went to the gym when he was 16, and by the time he was 18, 19, he was more jacked than anybody. So, like, that says a lot about hard work, but it says even more about genetics, I think.
Are you ready for inappropriate discussion time?
No.
Fair. Can I hit you with it anyways?
Sure.
All right. What do you think about the idea of, that's funny, Chris, the idea of the groping Arnold?
I wanted to address that.
Let me just set the stage. You're 27. You're a millionaire. You've won every title. You look like he looks. How often does that man hear a sincere no? Mm-hmm. Out of every passes that he made, how many were like, honestly, like, hey, you just violated my boundaries? And how many were like, oh my God, I've been hoping that this was going to happen? Yeah,
and I would say those cases, they're probably mixed. There's probably times when he saw like a girl, he really, that he went after her and maybe did something, because he kind of admits to it in the movie. He's like, rather than, which I do like, rather than deny it and say, I never acted like that, he said, I was a movie star. I was 25 years old. And he's like, I did some things I probably shouldn't have done. I like that. I'm cool with that. I can accept that.
I'm really treading on unfair conversation in it. And forgive me if I sound like an idiot, Chris. When you're so used to being, it's a little bit like the Trump syndrome, right? When you're rich or millionaire, I mean, it's got to warp your mind.
Yeah, my best friend is 6'8" and was the best basketball player in the entire city of Boston, and was on the cover of the newspaper, like the sports page, every single day when he was in high school. So he was like famous in his hometown.
How many times a week do you think your best friend had women throw themselves at him?
Every day.
Every day.
And that's why it
breaks your thinking.
The day that he got married, he snuck off and cheated on his wife. Like the day he got married. So that's what happens to people. They have too many options.
And do a lot of men just lose perspective on what's inappropriate?
I think so.
There's a syndrome here going on,
I think
right?
so. You get used to it.
There's a trap here.
It's really interesting because the other day I was using ChatGPT, and just for some dumb reason I was like asking it, questions, and then I asked it about Harvey Weinstein, and it won't talk. It won't even let you talk about him, which is amazing.
Amazing.
So I started going down the rabbit hole asking more questions about Harvey Weinstein, and it'll say like, although Harvey Weinstein was a producer, like we don't. He did a lot of inappropriate things, and we don't want to talk about.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Isolated sounds like I'm trying to condone it. I'm not. I'm really just more curious. What sort of perverts a person's thinking?
I think it's that. I think it's too many options. Too easy. It's too easy, and then you don't ever have anybody telling you no. And I think it's also like a reason why you'll hear a lot of people like this Army Hammer guy that wants to eat people. It's like after you do all these things to women or men, where's there to go? So you got to go somewhere else, right? You gotta find it somewhere else. You got to find it excitement in the next thing, or in the threesome, or in the foursome, or the five. It's like, and then we have to ask ourselves, like, what would Russell do? Snap the wrist? Like, what would Jesus do?
No,
it's like, what would Russell do?
Yeah,
It's like,
I mean,
that's it.
I've been blessed with, not having to be faced with those situations.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
And I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have fared well, because I've had those options and I've gone the wrong way a couple times, down the road. Nothing like that would ever be illegal, but like things that things that would really piss off my girlfriend or whoever I was with, And so those things have to be looked at. I think hopefully Arnold learned from that and can like move on from that, It is interesting that he denied this child of his, Joseph Baina, for 20 years. And now they're like best friends. So like that's a complex relationship. I wonder how that kid really feels. It's hard to say. Like he denied that kid being his son for a long, long time.
I don't know if you had a chance to get all the way through the documentary.
And the kid is awesome.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He even talked about how I hate bringing this up only because every time I bring it up, I know it's just going to bring hardship to my family.
Yeah.
It's probably going to hurt his ex, going to hurt his daughter. I mean,
It says a lot that Maria Shriver isn't really in the movie or any of these people. I didn't get through the whole thing. I'm still watching some like you. I'm like about 30 minutes out from the end, but I will watch it as soon as we're done with this. I was trying to get it done before we did this, and I bombed out. So anyway, yeah, but it's interesting. Like nobody from his life is in his movie. And I don't know if that was like a specific on purpose choice, but where's Patrick, who's now like an actor? Where's Joseph? Like maybe they come in at the end, last 30 minutes, hope so. But none of that's in there.
Maybe just as a director and just as a storytelling device, like you were saying earlier, it was just easier and cleaner just to have it just be all his monologuing with some cut-ins of the story.
And what I thought was beautiful is I know these guys watched Bigger, Stronger, Faster when they made this movie, because there are about 7 or 8 shots that are directly from Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and they actually play them at the same time. Where Mary Lou Retton and the Hulk and all that, they put all these clips in. I think they just don't. I want to go back and look at it, but I think they might have cut it from our movie, unless we cut it from something else. We might have stole a full clip that had those cut-ins in it. But I remember specifically I had to go to Lou Ferrigno and get him to sign a document and give him $800 to use that shot of the Hulk.
That's sick, dude. I feel like that's almost Easter egg worthy right there.
Well,
I mean, your first film was iconic, right?
I was just thinking of this. This is crazy because we're getting ready to make Better, Stronger, Faster, the sequel to Bigger, Stronger, Faster. And I looked up on, I was like, I wonder if I could get into Sundance again. Could you do something as interesting 15 years later about the same thing that's that interesting? I don't know. But I looked it up and I said, let me see how hard it is to get into Sundance. What are the odds? What do you think the odds are out of the amount of movies that get submitted every year? They let in about 22 documentaries.
How many get submitted? Do you know? Do you know what the submission is?
It's ridiculous.
I want to hear it.
It's over 2,500 feature documentaries. Wow. So it's 2%. It's 2% of the movies get in. Is it 2,000 or is it 20,000? Must be 2,000. I don't know. They said 2 to 3% of the movies get in. And then that made me first of all go, oh shit. And then it also kind of gave me some pride going that's pretty cool, man. That's the first movie I did. The second film I did, I don't know if a lot of people don't know this. This is there are people in their lives have make it, break it moments. And every time I've had a make it, break it moment, it's broken. And sometimes it's broken because of my fault. And sometimes it's broken because of the world's just broken. And when I made Prescription Thugs, we went back to Sundance. And we were let's see how this movie does, so let's see what they say. They announced all the movies and they rejected everybody. And all of our friends that were applied with other movies, yeah, we got rejected. And I'm we haven't heard anything yet. We haven't heard anything yet. So I'm on the way to Bodega Bay to go meet my brother because they had just got a house up there. Or not, they didn't buy the house yet. They'd go up there and stay and we'd all hang out. So it was before they had a house there. I'm on my way up there the day that it's Thanksgiving morning or the day before Thanksgiving, and I get a phone call. And they're hey, this is, so-and-so from Sundance. And I'm this is it. they're going to let me in. And the guy goes, I have to regret to inform you it came down to Prescription Thugs and one other movie. And just to consent, like, I'm the one calling you because, like, it was a guy I already knew, you know? He goes, I'm calling you because I already know you. And I just figured it'd be easier to hear it from me that, like, honestly, your movie's just as good as the other movie, maybe better. But we had to make a decision, and we made a decision based on two things. The other film fits our programming more, and the other person's never been here, and we want to give somebody else a shot. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I understand. Meanwhile, like, I wanted to go, like, sabotage a guy and, you know, kidnap him so he couldn't show his movie.
Well, that first thing fits our programming. That's an
easy let me just shun you nicely. Because I know those, like, a lot of times, it's weird, you know, I go into Netflix and I pitch stuff and they love it. Like, in the room, they love it. I think they get together and they talk about it and somebody in the room shits on it and then it goes out the window. The other thing is this: Netflix doesn't make movies like I make them. So they don't give a guy a camera and say, put yourself in the middle of this. And the reason I'm in the middle of all my documentaries is I just happen to be in the middle of it. I'm actually pitching to Netflix a documentary called The Menace of Venice about Dan Duchaine, who is like the steroid guru. Well, guess who's in most of the trailer? Me, because I'm the only one that knows about it. You know, so who else are you going to get to talk about it? So it's me talking about what I know with the authors of books and the people that were involved in his life. And then when we actually make the movie, it's going to be a crime caper, and it's going to have the FBI and the CIA. It's going to have all these, you know, different, not the CIA, the FDA, the DEA, the FBI, like all that stuff. And I think that'll be really, really fascinating. But it's probably something that doesn't fit what they normally do. But what I did is I took a movie about something they wouldn't normally talk about, which is steroids, and I made a true crime movie. So I'm trying to, like, fit into the envelope the other way. You know, back to this Arnold thing. It seemed like in the beginning of the movie, like, Arnold didn't have much adversity at all. It seemed pretty easy. But what I do admire him for, and what I really thought was cool, and what I took away from this was, he tried to get into acting, and every single person told him, you have a stupid accent, you sound dumb, your name's too long, lose the name, lose the whatever. I think somebody told him, like Bert Kreischer or something, told him lose the name or something, right? Who was talking about that the other day? It was a comedian. I met Arnold. No, it couldn't have been Bert because Bert's too young for that. Some
He said
older
Arnold Strong. They wanted him to use the surname of Arnold Strong, and he said it was the era of small actors: Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah,
like you're a big ogre. What would
somebody
you be on
a
here
podcast
for?
Said I met Arnold a long time ago, and I told him, and blah blah blah. And it might have been on Rogan. I forget who it was. It was like a comedian, and I said you got to lose the accent.
Interesting.
You know, and the name will never work.
And who was the comedian that's alive and well now that was doing it back in the 80s like Arnold? Because
I think maybe Dice. Was it Dice?
Yeah.
No. Dice wouldn't even be old enough.
Though. That might be it.
But I don't even think he would be old enough, would he?
Oh man.
Who was it? Was it on Rogan that they said it?
I would be pretending if I went. I'm not certain.
Right. Here, we can cut this out, but let me take a little look here through the because if I can find it, then we're in business here.
Mark Hamill once told Arnold.
Mark Hamill, that's right. So it was okay. So I was right, dude. It was Bert Kreischer.
Yes.
That told the story of Mark Hamill on Two Bears.
Good pull, Chris.
What's amazing is Mark Hamill got thrown into obscurity after that. Well, he was never to be heard of again.
Accident. I think it changed him. Like I think his face got all messed up for a little while.
Is that why he had the scar on his face in Star Wars? Was that what happened? I remember something like that.
I'm talking out of a 2/3 memory of something I once heard.
Wow, man, that Star Wars it's crazy because if you look at Carrie Fisher, she had a rough life. You know, it's a weird curse over there.
And you've dealt with this a little bit, right? When you come out of the gate making a masterpiece, how do you follow that? How do you follow a masterpiece?
You know what? It's interesting because it's like fighting, right? When you come out of the gate and you're 7-0, people think you're a terror. Then you lose your next 3 fights, and you actually might be really good, but you just lost. But if you lost in the beginning, it wouldn't matter, and then you'd be on a tear, right? So it's always like that. Like, what have you done lately?
When you're a victim of your own success, that's such a strange phenomenon.
Yeah. If look, making a second, bigger, stronger, faster. To be honest, I can only lose. Pretty much, I can only lose. Like, it's good. You know, it would be rare for you to completely win that. You know. You still have people like, but I like the original. You know what I mean? You're going to always get that. I'm not saying that you lose, but it's like, it's a losing proposition. It's not going to be better than the first one. I mean, that'd be really rare, you know? However, can we make it more informative? Can we make it more instructive? My goal with this movie is Bigger, Stronger, Faster. People tell me they watch Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and like, I watch Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and all I want to do is work out. And I'm like, with what information? There's not one explanation of like what a rep or a set is in that movie or anything, right? So I think that in broad, generalized terms, this next movie can actually show that stuff, can actually show the things that we're doing to improve our lives, and can give you ideas so that you can go research it and go off into it. And then the other thing I would like to do with this movie, if we have the right help, is to develop like training programs and protocols and things for people that we can, like, there's no reason why Mark and I shouldn't have like protocol that the whole world can follow. You know, training, eating, whatever. Maybe it should be a book, and maybe we can do that along with this movie. Maybe it's something that Mark could do along with the movie, because Mark's got a way better grip on instructional stuff. You know, so I want to try to do things that are going to really help people. And if you make a movie that the only help that it's ever given anybody that I know of from Bigger, Stronger, Faster is like, they're like, hey man, thanks a lot. Help my girlfriend understand. And then other people say, hey man, thanks a lot. My mom let me be on the juice now because of your movie. And that's not the reason. That's not the reason I made it. I'm glad that really happy that it can help people and change their lives. But I think something like Prescription Thugs, I got a lot more real comments from Prescription Thugs than I've ever gotten in my life, and A Leap of Faith. Those are heartfelt, crying their eyes out. I need your help. Please help me. Can you please call me? You know, I'm at my wit's end. I'm going to kill myself. We didn't get that with Bigger, Stronger, Faster. So there's something dire about the other side of this, pharmaceutical thing. And so with this movie, hopefully the people that are reaching out are saying like, I've tried 1,000 times and I can't lose weight. I've done it, what do I do? I've done everything. And all they really probably need you to do, to be honest, most people, all they really needed me to do is pick up the phone or text them back. And when you get back to them, it like makes their day. Then it hit you up 3 weeks later and tell you they're on the diet. Now, most of these people probably crash and burn, to be honest. But there's a lot of people that don't.
Are you getting ready for when your reach is bigger than you can deal with? Are you getting ready for that time? Like another, fast forward 18 months from now, and you won't even ever turn on your Instagram because you'll just be flooded with, it's like how I look at when I look at my emails.
There becomes different ways to help people. So if you get the same question 8 times, write a post about it. That's kind of what I've been doing lately, is trying to just condense things down and write a post, and then, some people might have questions or whatever, but usually there's enough information in my post that you can go to the website or go to where you need to go to get that, to get that last bit of information. So, yeah, I mean, I'll kind of always be available. It's like I go through my my DMs, a lot, and I'll just see names I recognize or something like that. I usually just hit them first, and I already have a relationship with these people. The other people that never got a message back, they're not really even expecting it, you realize. Most people aren't expecting it. And that's what helps me be off the hook, is that nobody's mad about it. Nobody's like, hey, bro, I hit you up 3 times. I didn't hear back.
You're flooded with that
stuff.
I
think people just get it, and they go, okay, you're flooded with it. And there's also a lot of spam, and the spam makes it a mess, too, because you can't even find who's sending you a real message. You go down the list and there's 10 girls and all the girls are fake. Yeah. It's just the way it is. They're all fake. They're like, hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Smiley face.
Yeah. All right, man, that's it. Go watch Arnold on Netflix. It's pretty awesome. I really enjoyed it. Hope you guys do too. Thanks.